Well, we're going to be talking in this segment about Cain's Ballroom. And for those of you not familiar with Cain's, go ahead and move. Chad Rodgers is co-owner and manager of Cain's Ballroom, along with his brother Hunter and their mother Alice. Good to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited.
Everybody knows about Cain's Ballroom.
It's been around for now close to 100 years this year.
Is it safe to say that anybody who's ever played on Cain's, I mean, you've had everybody in the world, but everybody that's been there is somebody somewhere now.
It's a true honor to have had as many people that we've had there.
I mean, you go back to the days of Bob Wills, Johnny Lee, and before.
Yeah, Merle Haggard, Ray Price.
Yeah.
You name it, Hank Williams, Sr., Jr.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to read something here because you guys have received an honor that I think is truly unique. It's an honor to hear that Cain's Ballroom has been voted Hometown of Consequence Best U.S. Local Music Venue for the Southwest region. Now, that's a big deal.
It is. It was a fan-generated contest. So, yeah, I mean, that's an honor that's given to us really by fans, people who love music and live music and support venues like us. So, yeah, it was a true honor to receive something like that.
Some of the old music places in Oklahoma had what they called a spring-loaded floor. Does Cain's have one?
We were told when we bought it, it did, and we read that it did, but it did not.
It did not.
When we had to pull it up back in the late 2000s, because it had been there for 50 years, we had video and things, and come to find out there were no springs under the floor. The way the floor was built, it was on joist, and they were spaced out so far with 2x4s that when there were enough people on the ballroom floor, it flexed to give it a feel. So that myth that it was spring-loaded continued for 50 years. And when we replaced the floor, of course, we had it designed where it is currently to where it still flexes, but it's done in a much more correct way.
You're a young man.
Yes.
Are you ever overwhelmed with the fact that some of the biggest names in show business walk through the doors over there?
I am. I'm often in awe of what we are owners of and managers of. Being custodians, stewards of such a marvelous place is a true honor, and we're very fortunate. My brother Hunter and I to run it for, and that our parents decided to buy it back in 2002. They had the vision when we bought it. It was so run down that there was water coming through the roof. There was dust all over. It never had central heat and air. All these things, and they somehow kind of said, we see that this is a marvelous place. This is a museum, living and breathing museum. It just needs some tender love and care and lots of money.
Yeah, and I bet you've got a lot into it. You told a brief story about Garth Brooks and his wife when they came by.
Yes.
Would you tell that story again?
Yeah, Trisha, we were fortunate to have Trisha Yearwood play there. I want to say it was back in 2014, but the years kind of run together over the last 21. But and Garth actually came out and with his security detail a couple days before the show, and he said, "Man, I can't believe I've never played Cain's Ballroom. This is such a legendary place. I remember when I was growing up in Stillwater, I had heard about Cain's. He played at the Tumbleweed over there when he was and getting big. And I said, man, we'd love to have you back anytime. You name it. It's never happened.
Got a guitar in the office.
Yeah. Hopefully one of these days, maybe he'll come back. I've sure asked him, begged and pleaded, even reached out for Cain. Cain celebrating 100 years this year. It would sure be something to have someone like him, a true Oklahoman,
Boy,
come
really.
back, born and raised.
And it's incredible to think, when I think back to the days of Bob Wills, and then Johnny Lee, and some of the guys in and around their organization, and then some of the men and women who've passed since that also played there. It's astounding, the names. Is there any kind of a roster where folks can read who's been there?
I wish we're trying to kind of do that. It's a work in progress. But one of the interesting things I'll tell you is this last year, the BOK Center came to us and said, there's so many artists that started at Cain's and now are headlining the BOK Center here in Tulsa. Mm-hmm. They have a production room now that they call Cain's Ballroom, production office. And they let the artists that come through their managers and their production people office out of it throughout the day. On the wall in there are albums they put up, record albums of everyone that started at Cain's and then plays the BOK. And above it says, started here, and it's talking about Cain's, and now you're here at the BOK. And it's such a true testament. It has a picture. It has on the ceiling. It has a star that's in the roof of Cain's that you see in the ballroom. And we sold them some of our old wood floor, the original wood floor, for 50-year-old wood floor, and they refurbished it, and it is in the floor of that office.
No kidding.
So like last week when Parker McCollum, who played Cain's numerous times growing up over the last 21 years, sold out the BOK Center 2 Fridays ago, he was amazed to walk in there and go, I started at Cain's in Tulsa, and now I'm here. And you've got a production office, and he said, from what I was told, it made him kind of emotional.
Yeah.
Him going back in that office then seeing I remember when I was here at Cain's.
Yeah. Good gracious. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for taking time to come in, because I know when you're trying to operate a place like Cain's with all the history and with all that's coming, you got your hands full. Second, if you don't get a ghost light in there, I ain't going to have anything to do with you.
I'm so glad you told me about a ghost light. We are definitely going to look into it, and I plan on making it happen.
Look it up.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Thank you for coming by, and keep us on your must-call list.
We will definitely. I really appreciate it.
You got big folks coming in, little folks. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let me know who's coming.
We'd love for you to come out and see a show sometime.
Slip
anytime.
a little plug in for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, sir.
All right. My best to your brother and mom.
Thank you very much, sir.
Talk to you again.
All right.
That was great. Just being able to talk to him just a little bit. Steve Wyatt's up next. We're going to be talking about investments and what you ought to think about in the days ahead.